Okay, konnichiwa mina, boku wa Jeremy desu. Yoroshiku onegaishimasu. Today was the second last episode of Sailor Moon Crystal's third season. We have one more, at least if you're going by the chapters and stuff here. It was Act 37, Episode 38, Infinity 11, Infinite Judge. And of course we are still in the Neptune book here. And let's get started, shall we? There was a lot of stuff that was very well mixed. A lot of stuff mostly that followed the manga, and other ones where scenes were kind of just sort of changed just a tiny little bit to make the flow work, and that's what they've been doing a lot lately, especially with this particular season, which is really good to see. Alright, so this particular one starts off exactly where it left off. We get a replay of the scene leading up to Sailor Moon calling on the moon, the Holy Grail, the chalice, and then Chibi Moon being like, oh, I wish I had that power too, and then so one appears for her. And they agree to do their transformation, and this time they have like this really kind of epic rock electric guitar music that plays, and so they change into Super Sailor Moon and Super Sailor Chibi Moon in front of everybody, and of course Mistress 9 is coming at them, and they use Double Moon, or Double Rainbow Moon Heartache, or Rainbow Moon Double Heartache, or whatever the hell they call it. And so they go towards her. And then of course it's the opening theme song, as always. And so, where are we here? Where are we here? Where are we here? Oh, I'm totally in the wrong place. I'm looking at the next chapter. Ha ha ha! But yeah, no, that is what happens. So we have the opening theme song. They use it towards Mistress 9, and Pluto realizes that through the distortion of space that Pharaoh 90 is coming. She doesn't say that in here, at least not this early on, but she does realize it. So they manage to hit Pharaoh 90, or Mistress 9, sorry, and she goes basically flying, like falling. And then Pharaoh 90's like, oh, Mistress 9, I've waited for you for so long, so come on to me, let's amalgamate, and whatever. So she falls into him, and she basically becomes part of this, like, goopy mass that is Pharaoh 90. And it reminded me of the My Little Pony movie from, like, the 80s, where there's the ooze. Do you remember that? I don't know, it's like, bow, 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 bow. Anyway, that, and, or Fern Gully. With if you guys have seen Fern Gully, I saw it in theaters when it came out. That's how old I am. But anyways, so they amalgamate into one, and then Sailor Moon's like, we need to stop this now. So she looks at the inners and tucks, because of course the outers are all trying to form this triad barrier to keep Pharaoh 90 and stuff in. So we get Venus Wing Chain Sword, Mars Snake Fire, Jupiter Coconut Cyclone, Mercury Aqua Mirage, and of course Tuxedo La Smoking Bomber. And then Sailor Moon and Chibi Moon use Double Moon, Rainbow Moon Heartache again, and basically it hits Pharaoh 90, and the cats are watching, and they're like, oh my god, they did it. And then Artemis is like, oh, wait a minute, no they didn't. And Pharaoh 90 seems to be drawing power from it. Now, Chibi Moon ends up losing power because, I guess, being the youngest and not necessarily able to sustain her transformation as long as the others, she falls first, and she's falling right towards Pharaoh 90, but Tuxedo Command stops his La Smoking Bomber and goes after her, which kind of breaks the chain a little, and the four inners lose their power, so Mercury and Mars fall with Neptune, Venus with Uranus, and Jupiter with Pluto. So the outers are still standing strong as they can be. Pharaoh 90 gets this massive surge of power and basically is able to destroy their barrier. And so it goes out like a big lava thing and basically covers most of Tokyo. And Amy, or Mercury, looks up and she has a flashback to walking through the Mugen Gekuen laboratory in the episode where she fights against Vilu. And she sees the Tau Star system, and she realizes that's what is coming through. And it has a really good visual graphic. Like, they're really on par with how they have balanced the 3D, like, kind of animation with the 2D animation. And just some of the scenes, like the darkness and stuff, it really resonates very, very well. So, of course, Chibiusa has fallen at this time, the inners have fallen, the Tau Star system is opening up, and it's basically going to try to envelop the Earth, and because this is what Pharaoh 90 wants to happen. Now, as this is going on, they think that there's nothing else that they can do. like none of their powers are working. They're like, is this the end? And all of a sudden, this light shines through, and it's the moon, the full moon. And Sailor Moon has a flashback to several scenes that had happened in this season, and other ones from the past two seasons. And she thinks about how everybody's always come to her rescue, and how it's finally her time to be able to do this. It's all on her now. So she calls forth the Holy Grail, and it still has the little bits of the Senshi power inside of it. And Tuxedo Command is like, Usa, what are you doing? And Chibimun's like, what's going on? And so as this is happening, the music that's playing, and I thought this last time too, there's parts where the music reminds me of the movie The Secret Garden, like just the like that kind of singing, that, I don't know what you'd call it, but it's not even really singing, but that sound, like just the voice that you hear, the female voice and stuff. It really reminds me of The Secret Garden in certain parts, and it's really pretty and really ethereal and really haunting. And so Sailor Moon's basically going to sacrifice herself by falling into Pharaoh 90 to release the power of the Holy Grail. And so the cats are like devastated. Everybody's devastated. They all have memories and stuff of Sailor Moon talking to them, because the cats are like, Sailor Moon's power, her thing is not resonating anymore, so they think she's dead. And of course they are communicating with the others, and Tuxedo Command is horrified that he let her go in ahead of him and like didn't do anything to stop her. They all have little memory pieces of it. Uranus is hit really, really hard too, because all she wanted to do was protect her. And Pluto is devastated too. Like, everybody is. Venus is the only one that kind of is standing there like, I mean, she's upset, but I don't know. It almost seems like she has more faith than the others do. And actually, I will say that one thing that just tore me apart when I was watching it was Chibi Moon crying out, Mama. Because she said Sailor Moon and then Mama. And that's not in here. That's not in here. that's extra, and it just goes that extra little bit to hit you right in the heartstrings. So everybody's horrified about what's going on. In the meantime, all of a sudden, all three of the talismans start resonating. And I think that Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto aren't really thinking. Like, they think that maybe it has to do with Sailor Moon being down there and releasing this power. So they hold up their talismans. Forgetting, of course, that the talismans also call forth another person whom we've been expecting all this time. And essentially, we see this moment where Mistress Nine's body, which is inside of Pharaoh 90, releases the other soul inside of her, which is that of Sailor Saturn. So Sailor Saturn's basically ripped from Mistress Nine's body, which pulls some of that power out. We see kind of a sort of transformation for Saturn for the first time since the Sega Saturn game, which is really funny, Sega Saturn. That was the only time they ever had a Sailor Saturn transformation, so it'll be interesting if there is one in Super S and Stars, if they could get to that far, but we'll get to that in a little bit. So Saturn appears, and as she appears, it's so nonchalant, and it's amazing, because here you have this Sailor Senshi that was locked away in the body of arguably the weakest of all of them, because her body is so damaged, being a cyborg and stuff. And yet she is the most powerful Senshi, because she's standing there, she shoves her glaive inside of Pharaoh 90, and Pharaoh 90 can't do fuck all. Basically just sitting there like agonized. You can hear the agony in Pharaoh 90's voice, and Sailor Saturn's just like, yeah, so this is what happened. You know, I'm kind of the uninvited guest, and Professor Tomoe, you know, his mind is what brought the aliens here, and it was all twisted, and Hotaru should have been, her destiny was to have an eternal sleep from that accident, but, you know, she was then reborn as a cyborg and had to go through this hell, and she's standing there just talking like nothing, and her power is basically stopping Pharaoh 90 from doing anything. And so the others are like sitting there intently listening, and the outers are like, no, this can't be. I can't believe this is going to be the end of everything. And Tuxedo Command realizes there's nothing they can do. So Saturn then pulls the glaive out, and she jumps up in the air and uses Death Ribbon Revolution, which basically um, what's the word? Wraps itself around Pharaoh 90 and pulls the power up towards her because she's way up in the air. And meanwhile, they don't know where Sailor Moon is, of course, at this time. They're just watching everything unfold, pretty much helpless, not able to do anything. And they're trying to get Saturn to stop, because once she drops the glaive, that's basically the end of everything. And so they're calling out to her. They're like, no, please don't do this, Saturn, please don't. And then Chibi Moon's like, Sailor Moon! And at that moment, Pharaoh 90's like, my power, it's being sucked out, what the hell's going on? And essentially, Saturn then, like, the music stops, everything kind of stops and makes this weird eerie sound, you know, like when music is like fading out, but it's like come abruptly to an end, and then it just like stops all of a sudden, but you hear kind of a resonation of it, and then the silence, and then that's when the glaive comes down, and the screen goes white and fades to the Tuxedo Porn music to finish the episode again, because that's what it is Tuxedo Porn music. So, in the next episode, we can expect, of course, a return of Sailor Moon. Very, very, very likely. And, well, I know it's going to happen. And basically the finishing up of this particular arc. And, of course, don't forget, Sailor Saturn is the Senshi of Death, but she's also the Sailor Senshi of Rebirth. Very, very key point there. Now, I have a sneaky suspicion that because the next episode has been timed to end on the Monday before Chibi Moon and Sailor Moon's birthday, which is June 30th, and they're doing a birthday special. As far as I understand it, they're going to have the new 5 Inner Guardians from the musical at this event that's going to be streamed on Nico Nico and so on. They're going to be making some announcements. Now, they've already announced the Super S musical, basically. But I have a sneaky suspicion they might announce that they are continuing on with the Dead Moon Circus arc, which will be coming up, obviously, in the next... I don't know if they're going to start it right away, or if they're going to take a hiatus and maybe start it next year. Who knows? Who really knows? But there should be some sort of announcement. Now, they also released recently a picture of a brand new Sailor Chibi Moon and Helios, or Pegasus, I guess. Helios is the human version. Chibi Moon and Super Sailor Chibi Moon and Pegasus Fig Arts doll, which will be coming out in January, so you can pre-order now. Which basically kind of is a telltale that they are going to be doing the Dead Moon Circus arc. A lot of this does, of course, center around toy sales, because, let's face it, that's what it's all about. If the toy sales are strong, and Crystal is watched a lot, which I think they don't have to worry about this time, because they, like I said, they actually have a budget this time. They've been doing it properly, which is good, and that's been the key all along. I'm pretty sure we don't have to worry. The Dead Moon Circus arc and Sailor Stars will be coming. And I can't wait for Sailor Stars specifically. But just a little bit longer, maybe a year or two. But so excited. Very excited about that. So, I am anxious to see what they announce at the party. I am anxious to see the next episode, of course. And I would really like to get this particular season on DVD, of course. Now, Viz will be releasing the first season of Sailor Moon Crystal in August. And then after that, I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure that we should have an announcement about the original series S arc being released by Viz at some point soon as well. And who knows? We will see what happens. Alright, everybody. Jamatane, I hope you enjoyed this, and I will see you tomorrow. Comment down below what you thought of the episode as well, and if there's any little pieces that I'm missing, because I might be. But, yeah. Luna says bye-bye. Jamatane.